Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Clangin and Bangin with Mikey, episode 295. And what I wanted to talk about today was, actually last week I ended up taking an impromptu break because we had no electricity because we had a tropical storm come through that was upgraded to a hurricane. So it was all bad. I think I was out of electricity for like 36, 37 hours or something like that. Anyway, so couldn't couldn't record anything. So yeah. But today what I wanted to talk about, that coffee's good. What I wanted to talk about is relationships that end, right? Um and I think a lot of people will say hurtful shit, just to get the other person to, not necessarily to leave them alone, but it's more along the lines of like, look, I didn't want the same thing you wanted. Obviously you wanted something different, and that's fine. But it is what it is. And I think when relationships like that run their course and people end up saying disparaging shit and they end up saying stuff that they mean, but they don't mean for it to come out that way, because um, it's true. People will tell you exactly how they feel about you when, in certain moments. And it's like when they're mad, when they're drunk, and and basically that's it. It's like there's three types of people that would tell you the truth: mad people, drunk people, and kids. Kids don't have a filter. You know what I mean? It's like, some of the most ruthless fucking, things I've been told to me has been told to me by a fucking 6, 7 year old. This straight fucking savage. And you know what? They ain't fucking wrong. And I've also been around people who can't regulate their emotions really well, and they end up saying stuff that they mean to say, but not how they say it. And I remember my ex told me once, she's like, oh, yeah, like we're an acquaintance, X, Y, and Z, yada yada yada. And then she went on to explain like I'm not looking to be friends with you or to be to be in person of interest or whatnot or anything with you. I was like, bet. I'm not going like I did speak to my therapist about it, and I told her like I did feel a certain way, um, because that was hurtful, 100%. So I said like, look, what makes you think that you're not an acquaintance as well? You know, you're telling me X, Y, and Z, all this, or like, did I tell you, yada yada yada, what's been happening? I'm like, no, I haven't spoken to you in 6 months. You know, I may run into you from time to time in certain places, but it's not like I go out of my way to come, to speak to you. Like we're no longer on daily communication because we're no longer going out. We're no longer sleeping together. You know what I mean? So it's like we're no longer in a relationship. So there's no point for me to have daily communication with you. Um, and what's fucked up about that situation is that hurt people will hurt people, and a lot of the times people will say shit, like I said, like they don't necessarily mean, but it comes out that way, you know. And it's like at the end of the day, like it does suck, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles, man. And I like there's nothing you can do about it. And it's like one of my coworkers, love that girl to death. When she found out that like her boyfriend was cheating on her for the whole year, and I told her like, look, it's like I knew something was off around your birthday. I didn't say nothing because of X, Y, and Z. He's like, but everybody knows when the situation is, is over and done with. The energy switches. The conversation becomes less and less enjoyable. Like you don't look for that person to be you know, the ray of sunshine throughout your day. No matter how fucked up your day was, it's like you got that one person. Like, yo, I can go talk to my girl, or I can go call my man's up, and whatever it is, and like they gonna listen to me vent. You know, or it's like coming home to somebody that just wants to be around you, and they just wants to be X one, wants to be in your space 24/7. And I remember telling her that, like, yo, like it's gonna take some time, man. But it's like the one thing you don't want to do is like you don't want to go out there and be a hoe. You don't want to go out there and do X, Y, and Z, And I mean, don't get me wrong. Sex is amazing. Sex is great. But you don't want to be that person that just willingly gives up, or gives out free cat or free dick or whatever it is, because at the end of the day, it's like if you don't deal with your emotions, I don't care who you are, bro. It's like after a while, people just, they understand that, okay, bet, it's necessarily not really the wisest thing to do, because it's not. It's like how girls who are promiscuous, and I've dealt with several of them too. Like they're promiscuous, but then they want to get upset when they're treated like that. I'm like, yo, you really out here selling cat, or you really out here, saying, I'll do fellatio for X amount of dollars, this and this and that, which is basically prostitution. And it's like you're getting mad at that because of how the guy's treating you. It's like it's a service that you're providing. It's strictly transactional. You can't get mad at that when somebody tells you, this is what I think about you, And it's crazy to me how women will do that shit, how they'll objectify themselves, and it's like I'm sorry, but like once you bring a transactional type of mindset to the situation, it's like most men, believe it or not, we're gonna treat you as that. We don't like, we end up not caring about you after the fact because we don't. You know what I mean? It's like people be like, what? It's like it's really fucked up, and like, but it's true though. You ask any guy, heterosexual, gay, whatever it is like, and they be like, yeah, like if somebody comes out the box and all they do is offer sex, it's a wrap. Like there's nothing that you can do that will make me change my mind. And like I said, heterosexual, gay, whatever, whatever label that you want to slap on that, most men will tell you the same thing. Like, yo, it's like if they come out the box, like I said, offering just sex, like, I'm sorry, you're automatically going to be put in that category where when I'm horny, I'm going to hit you up. And I think that's why a lot of people get it fucked up at too. Because a lot of these women, and now that I'm older, I'm approaching 40, X, Y, and Z, right? A lot of these women think that they have options. And I hate to tell you this, you don't. You don't have options. You're no longer 21, 22, you're 37, 35, 36, 37, 38, 40. It's like, you probably got a couple kids. You probably been through a few marriages, a few divorces. You're probably going through a divorce, and you think you have options and you don't. The option that you have is basically, it's slim, because everybody out there in the dating pool who's around your age or maybe older, number one, probably never been in a relationship. Number two, they probably been through a few divorces, and they probably not gonna tell you the whole truth. And that's another thing too. When somebody tells you, oh, don't speak to my ex for X, Y, and Z reasons, that's your excuse to leave. That's your excuse to end the relationship. If you're in a relationship with somebody and you're talking marriage and the whole nine, and like they bring up, oh yeah, like it doesn't matter if it's a girl or a guy. If they say, oh well, like don't talk to my ex because they're gonna paint me a certain way, that's when you go talk to the ex. That's when you go use your FBI skills and whatnot, and you go figure this shit out, because it's like, you want to get married to me, but yet you don't want me to find out who knew you the best before I knew you. Or like the girls who have multiple baby daddies, with every kid that's 2-3 years apart. I'm like, that's not a coincidence, that's a choice. That means you're jumping from relationship to relationship, and you're thinking that shit is okay, and it's not. Or it's like the girls who don't work, and then but like they always got money for certain things. Again, you're out there selling your cat. You're out there doing X, Y, and Z. You know, but women, a lot of women, like, they say, well, I don't have a problem with that. Like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. You know, because if there wasn't a problem with that, then you wouldn't feel a certain way about how men treat you. You know, there is very few women out there that will actually own what they do. You know, in that aspect. And as I get older, I realize, you know, and going to therapy and whatnot too is like, I realized like, yo, it was like, maybe I am, because my therapist told me I'm hyper vigilant, right? You know, and I looked up what that meant. You know, it basically has to do with trauma, and like, and it's true. And I do get exhausted from time to time, you know, dealing with certain people. Just recently, I had somebody, you know, I reached out to somebody, and this is like, excuse me, we were friends years ago, and we ended up having a falling out and X, Y, and Z, and this is about maybe like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. So I contacted her, you know. We ended up talking, and we were supposed to set something up. I think we were supposed to go to lunch or something. So we ended up, the plans fell through, which is perfectly fine, but it was weird because it was, I guess she was expecting me to chase her, right? Because like that was what the old version of me used to do. I used to chase women because I wanted to be in a relationship so bad. You know, I wanted to be in a relationship, you know, with somebody so bad, just to say that I had somebody, when I didn't realize that, yo, the best relationship I can be in is with myself, you know? And so, mind you, I said, hey, you know what? And this is like a Tuesday or a Wednesday. I said, hey, like, you know, like, let's meet up for lunch, you know, on Saturday, keep it casual, whatever. It didn't matter where we, you know, where we had to meet up at, and like I didn't really care, you know. So she's like, okay, cool. You know, she said, well, I got a couple family things going on, but actually no. She said, well, she's like, let me double check. Her original text message was let me double check if I, you know, if that Saturday's clear, and I'll let you know. Mind you, this is Tuesday or Wednesday. So a couple of days goes by, I don't hear nothing. So Friday comes, I was like, hey, so what's the move for tomorrow? Because I need to know, because I have all this shit going on too. And so I sent that text Friday morning at like 8 a.m. She has her read receipts on. She reads that shit at about 3:30. And then she goes, and the text message says, she goes, oh, hey there, which I'm like, yeah, okay, this is not gonna go the way I wanted to go. So I'm reading the text message, and she goes, well, like, so I'm reading the text message, and she goes, like, one of my family members, like, you know, my nieces has like a soccer game or something. Okay, cool, whatever. And then she's like, well, I'm helping a friend move. Cool. And then she goes, and she ends the text message with what stood out to me was that it's gonna be a busy weekend. Translation: I didn't make any time with you because I don't want to. Because if people wanted to make time with you, they would have rescheduled. They would have gave some sort of itinerary to when they were available. And mind you, it's just lunch. You know, I'm not trying to date this girl. I'm not trying to, you know, I'm not trying to do X, Y, and Z with her. I just want to take her to lunch. You know, I just want to catch up. You know, and if something happens after, you know, out of that, cool. So, and then Sunday, the storm rose through, right? So the storm rose through. Lose power for a couple, like, you know, like a day and a half, almost 2 days, whatever, right? And so with that, I'm going through my text messages. I think it was, it was yesterday. And so I noticed, I was like, oh snap, I haven't heard back from her, right? So I click on the text message, and then I see at the very bottom it says, "Oh, read at like 1:15 in the afternoon." I sent that text message on a Tuesday. I said, so when she originally had sent that text message on Friday, I didn't respond till like what, Tuesday or Wednesday. So I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. I forget. But I remember saying like, "Oh, X, Y, and Z." Like, "Oh, like, did you survive that? Well, did you survive the weekend or yada yada yada, whoop de whoop." You know. And see, yesterday was what, Saturday? Yeah. So yesterday was Saturday. I get the text message, see that she read it, and I laughed at it because I'm like, "Yo, this is the same person that you dealing with, just older. This is the same person that, who you knew at 34, who's 40 now, and still acts the same way, And in the back of my mind, I can hear my dad telling me this when I was 19. He said, and I was fucking up, left and right. I wasn't really struggling in school. I was fucking off in school. I was on the verge of getting academically kicked out for the semester, the whole night. It was bad. And I remember my dad telling me, he's like, "Man, there's two types of people in this world. One, the first person is a person that grows older with wisdom, and the second person is somebody who just grows older." He's like, "I want you to realize, I want you to sit there and think about what I just said." And I said, "Well, the first person that grows older with wisdom, they learn from their mistakes and they learn from other people around them. The second person just grows older and keeps making the same mistakes." I looked at that girl who's now 40 that I knew at 34. And I told myself, "Bro, she's just growing older. She's not getting any wiser. She's not doing X, Y, and Z. She's just getting older." And it's like, whatever you thought that was gonna come of this is not gonna come of this, man. So you're better off just leaving this shit alone. And it's true. And so, like, the really fucked up thing about it is, like, when you realize that, and then you realize, like, damn, some people really are just that. Some people are just characters in your story, in your life story, that just, once that character, role is done, it's done. There's some people out there that they will never get the same version of you twice. And a lot of people will say that, like, "Oh yeah, like you'll never get the same version of me twice." I don't want to. And if we gotta end because of the shit that you did, then what's that tell me? It's like how people were shocked that when Tom Holland said, well, when his wife broke up with him when they were dating, he got jealous that she was dating somebody else and X, Y, and Z, and he literally waited years, And I was like, yeah, like, jealousy is a normal trait, It's perfectly fine to be jealous. What's not okay is when you end up being obsessed about it. It's when you end up, just constantly thinking about it 24/7, constantly just being consumed by it. That's what's not okay. And so when you're dealing with things like that, and then you sit there and you think about it, like, damn, it's like, is it really that important? It's like, I haven't been in many relationships. I can count on one hand how many relationships I've been in. I've had crushes on girls. I've dated a ton of different girls, but when it comes down to actual relationships, no, not many. And I remember once I was like 18 and 19 at the time, and I remember this one girl. This cute white girl. She had a fat ass. She had a fat ass. So I ended up getting the phone number. We ended up talking. And I guess, like, the conversation wasn't really going anywhere. And so she basically said, like, look, like, you're just a classmate, X, Y, and Z. Oh, bet. And I remember I made the mistake of telling my dad that. And anybody who grew up in a black household knows that we laugh at damn near everything. Even if shit is not supposed to be fucking funny. And when I told my dad, like, yeah, man, she told me I was just a classmate. And my dad's like, damn, son. And he couldn't help but laugh. But he was like, yo, it happens. And it's true. I think it's like, it's crazy that you can remember something from like almost 20 years ago or 20 years ago. And not that it has an effect on me, because it doesn't. But at the same time, it's like, some people would tell you straight up from point blank that what they think about you, and what they think about you, believe them. It's like how people will. I've seen people, go through divorces, the marriages end and everything too, and the spouse, meaning the husband, is like, oh well, I don't want a relationship with you or my kids, fuck them basically, And when these women tell me that, I'm like, yo, it was like, you thought it was playing with you, I've seen men tell their ex-spouses like, oh well, I wish we never made this family, yada yada yada, whoop de whoop, I've seen men, disown their fucking kid, like act like the kid's not theirs, knowing good and goddamn well that they got 2-3 kids walking around here somewhere that, that they don't know that they don't know their dad, and so it's like, it's crazy because people will sit there and say that shit, they'll do that shit, and it's like, and what's sad is that a lot of people will they won't accept the reality of it. They won't accept the reality of like, oh, like this relationship didn't work out. It's like, why are you trying to force something, right? Like I remember when I was in my late 20s and I was living in Cali, and there's this one girl, me and her were cool. It was really nothing really going on, like, and I remember something that she asked me one day, like, she's like, yo, like, if you know I just want to be friends with you, then why do you keep trying? I'm like, that makes fucking complete fucking sense, and that's when I started learning, and I'm like, yo, okay, like, instead of going after what you want, pay attention to what they giving you, bro. Like, you don't have to force anything, right? And I wish I knew this back in my, I wish I paid attention more back in my early to mid, to mid 20s. I probably would have saved myself a whole bunch of grief and shit, right? And what's crazy to me is like, most of these girls who dogged me out, or who, or who played in my face, 10 years later, they talk about, oh, Mikey this, Mikey, like, nah, like, I'm cool, man. I don't need to be associated with you. I don't want to be associated with you, There's nothing here for you. And women want to call me an asshole for that. I'm like, no, I'm not an asshole. It's called having boundaries. And, like, you're not going to sit there and play in my face. Like, you're not going to sit there and, like, think that things are, are gravy when it's not, And I think that's the most disrespectful thing, too, is, like, when people play in your face and when they do certain things and it's like, then they want to be like, oh, why you like this? Why X, Y, Z? You're like, like, I'm like this because of the situation at hand. I'm like this because I've seen how you move and I got out, I got out your way. It's like I was telling one of my homegirls last night about that girl who left me on red, right? And I was like, yo, like, I sent that text message like 4 days ago. And only now she's reading it. And it was basically it was basically a playful way for her to to engage back in a conversation, and she wasn't with that. And my homegirl was like, yeah, because it was intentional. You know, it's like she's intentionally ignoring you because she's like, yo, at the end of the day, we're all on our phones. You know, everybody's always on their phones, and it is what it is. And I was like, yeah, it's like to me, I just look at that like it is what it is. It was what it was, and it's always interesting too, with like when people say that shit, and but it's like but you show them their behavior patterns, and I'm like, okay, what you're saying and what you're doing is two different things. So either your words have to match your actions, or or you got to get the fuck out the way, you know. And when I say that, I don't mean disrespectfully get the fuck out of the way, but it's like stop blocking me from somebody else, you know. It's like this one girl I dated for about a month or so, um, and it was really interesting because towards the end of the relationship, before she ghosted me, um, I actually was gonna invite her to a friend's wedding. You know, because I had a +1 for that wedding, and I remember she had said something. She's like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, like I need, intentional dating. I need, like, things, things thought out, X, Y, and Z. Okay, cool, bad, right? And for a couple of weeks, we was talking about going to this comedy show. Cool. And I'm like, I'm not tripping on the tickets, anything like that. It was like, oh, it is what it is, right? So I end up not buying the tickets because she doesn't respond to to none of my text messages. She's basically, she basically started ghosting me, right? So like a week later, after not hearing nothing, I said like, look, you know, and mind you, I was a little bit defensive in the text message, but I was pissed. You know, I said like, look, like if signage is your way of communication, then we're clearly not on the same page. And it's like, do you want to talk about this, or do you want to just let this go? And she never responded. And I'm like, okay, that's my answer, And I'm proud of myself that way because the younger version of me, the kid in his 20s and 30s, you know, I would have called, I would have double and triple text, I would have quadruple text, you know. I would have asked them, what I did wrong and X, Y, and Z, and it's like, okay. Now I'm like, okay, it's cool, it's whatever, because it is. And I think that's the most crazy thing, because when you sit there and when you don't realize what exactly is going on, and when you don't want to recognize what's going on, it's like, and you end up just in a constant cycle of this the same repeated bullshit. It's like, okay, great, but no, it's not. And I think that a lot of people will put themselves in situations like that and not realize that they're the problem, you know, and not realize what's going on is because of them. And I think that's the most disrespectful thing you can do to yourself, is because why would you sit there and continuously put yourself in the same situations and not learn? And it goes back to I gotta text my homeboy back. It goes back to that that girl who basically left me on red for 4 days, right? When me and her were friends, like she always used to complain about like, oh yeah, I'm a good person, this and this and that, or like, why does this keep happening to me? And I told her point blank, like, look, you're not. Because if you were a good person, number one, you wouldn't be catching yourself in these situations with these bum ass men. And number two, if that was the case, then you would learn. You're not learning from your situations. It's like you keep saying that you want to move forward and and grow and get better, but in reality, it's like you're still stuck in your past. And I remember once it was she said something. She was like about her ex fiance who cheated on her the whole night. And I was like, look, it's like if you really wanted to move on from this dude, like you would have blocked him on everything. You know, you would have told his family members, hey, please don't call me, don't talk to him about me, whatever it is. Whoop de whoop, right? You haven't done none of that, but yet you're sitting there complaining about, you know, oh, he's reaching out to me because his mom has cancer. This, which sucks. But I told her, like, what's his situation gonna do with you? You know, it's like my ex reaching out to me and complaining about her situation. I'm like, well, what's that got to do with me? If we use your logic, you and I were never together, right? So why would I need to know about your current situation? Why would I want to know? Like, why would I want to know? Why would I reach out? X, Y, and Z, and because it doesn't make any sense. Like, I reached out to my ex, I think on Monday, because the storm is still happening. So I texted her like, hey, you guys okay? And she hits me back Tuesday evening. Mind you, it's like 27 hours later. So I was like, okay. Get the text message. Read it the next morning because I was gonna go to bed anyway. Get up, read the text message. I was like, okay, bet. Didn't respond back because there's no point. It's like, I asked the question, you answered it, cool. And what was really disheartening for me is like when she brought up the whole thing about her ex and the child support and everything to him. The only thing in my head that I could think about is like, yo, it sucks. It really sucks that you're going through it, because it does. But that has nothing to do with me, and that's the crazy part about it too, because people will sit there and be like, oh yeah, but you said X. Like, no, it was like at one point in time I did care. I stopped, because you have to learn to value yourself. You have to learn to understand that. Look, does it suck? 100%. Is it a shitty situation? Yes. Is it any of my concern? Absolutely not. And I think that's the most important thing that I'm learning, is that you can still care about somebody. You can still wish them well. But it doesn't mean that they have to take up mental real estate in your head. It doesn't mean that you have to be obsessed over them. I mean, not saying that I am, because I'm not. But it's like the amount of people that will sit there and obsess over something that didn't work out. I'm like, bro, it's like, so what? It's a relationship. It didn't work out. It's not the end of the world, bro. And I think as I get older, that I want to have kids. I'm kind of on the fence about it. I really am. I jokingly say, like, if I have kids, when I turn 38, 30, 39, 40, whatever, like, those little motherfuckers ain't leaving the crib till, like, I'm in my, mid to late 50s, which is true. They're not, but at the same time, it's like, I think being a father is a beautiful thing, but it's also what's extremely important is that having kids with the right individual, because a lot of these people think that, oh, and men and women included, they think, oh, she's carrying my seed, so she's gonna be different. No, if that bitch was crazy before you met her, or she was always playing victim before you met her, before you got her pregnant, all you did was sign yourself up for the same bullshit. So at the end of the day, vice versa too. Same thing with guys. It's like, if he was a cheater or a player before he met you, and he was cheating on you the entire time, it's like, what makes you think he's gonna stop now that you carrying his kid? He's not. He's not gonna stop. Like, stop ignoring the red flags in the situation, and stop thinking that shit's gonna get better, because it's not. And I think that's the most important thing too, because people will sit there and like not take accountability for this shit, and then wonder why their lives are the way are what they are. Make it make sense, bro. Straight up, because it's not that hard to figure out, man. And I think the faster you figure that out, the better off you'll be. Because there's nothing worse than to be growing older and not wiser. There's nothing worse than growing older and not growing any wiser, and then sitting there complaining about how your life turned out when you're 100% in charge of the shit that happens to you. You know, like you can't sit there and be like, oh yeah, X, Y, and Z, boom, 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 boom. Yeah, it's fucked up, but your attitude towards the situation can influence how the shit plays out. You know, we all can't control what the fuck happens to us. But what I mean by that, what I said earlier, you know, like we're in control about what happens to us. What I mean by that is the emotional intelligence behind that. Because if you crash out over every fucking thing, you know, what's the point? You're letting something else or somebody else have emotional control over you, and it's not a good thing. It's like if I sat there and fucking like became obsessed with the fact, oh yeah, she left me in red for 4 days. So what? Who gives a fuck? She's telling you without telling you what she thinks about you. Simple. And I think if a lot of people were to just figure that out, imagine how better off they'll be. All right, y'all. It's about 36 minutes every night that y'all won't get back. Hope y'all keeping the 4Ps. Private player, positive, and pushing. I'll see y'all next week. I love y'all. And like I always say, know your worth because you're better than what you are. All right, y'all. Peace. Have a good Sunday.